Hello, class. This film is called The Burning Times. I'm showing it to demonstrate how the mythology can be interpreted, because it is a metaphor, and be applied in society many different ways. During the centuries of the Inquisition, you have the idea of God being used to burn people at the stake. 85% of those killed through the Inquisition were females. So it was an attack on the feminine, a reconstruction of the feminine. And you can see that very clearly if you look at the idea of Mother Mary, the mother of Jesus. The people had been used to paganism, had been used to male-female gods, the idea of the reflection of their lives. Now they're being told, oh no, there is no female god, just God the Father, and you must obey him. And this was not sitting well with a lot of the people. They lifted Mary up as the goddess, the mother of God. And the church allowed this. But what power does Mary have? She's the mother of God, but she has no power of a god. She can go and intervene for human sake by pleading with her son for mercy. Well, that's really pretty much what happened to females in Europe. They had power. They were doctors. They were, well, not doctors because they weren't official doctors, but they were healers. They were politicians. They were teachers. And with this Inquisition, the takeover of the Western European patriarchy, because this was not in Eastern Europe, this all got changed. People were pushed off their lands. The lands were used to pay for the tribunals that sacrificed human life. The use of God in politics and murder to take land. That was in 1492 when Columbus came to this side of the world. This was going on in Europe. This was the religious persecution people talk about. Interesting to look at the dynamics and apply it to colonialism. The use of God and weaponry to exterminate populations, claim the land as Western Europeans, and then build a world around that ideology, like we have today, the colonial mind, that Western European males are the superior, that Protestants are the superior and only religion. Everything else is just attempting to be religion, just attempting to be human. This kind of delusion is killing us. So let's watch The Burning Times.
For thousands of years, this spring was sacred to the ancient tribes of Britain. Depicted here as a holy trinity, the Celtic goddess Sulis presided over the spring at Bath. When the Romans arrived in Britain, they dedicated the shrine to Minerva, their goddess of wisdom and good health. Ancient myths describe it as a place of prophecy, as well as healing, where the pools were said to offer up visions. Romans didn't destroy the religions of the peoples they conquered. They too took the healing waters and dreamed by the hot pools. They too believed that nature was sacred, and the spirit of the earth goddess was alive in all things. Long after Roman times, women continued the ancient traditions of the old religions with 1,000 small ceremonies in their daily lives. They were leaders, counselors, visionaries, and healers. In Europe, their villages knew them as wise women. The Christian church and state branded them witches and condemned them as worshippers of the devil. Their history, once lost, is being reclaimed by a new generation of women.
The understanding of witch, let's say, as healer, or witch as the woman alone, the strong woman, the woman in nature, the woman at the edge of social change, all those meanings that we could think of in regard to witch are not the meanings that most people in our society look at. They see witches in terms of evil, they confuse witch with Satanist, they do all those kind of things.
Our ideas about witches date back to the Renaissance and the period in history known as the witch craze. By the time it was over, women's power had become associated with darkness and death. On Halloween, the witch is queen of the night. We forget that Halloween was once the pagan festival of Samhain, a time to remember the ancestors. Midnight orgies, satanic rites, and human sacrifice. We have been taught to fear the witch, but we are still drawn to her power. Perhaps it's because we remember another time. A time when older women were revered, and the conical hat was a symbol of knowledge. A time when the cauldron symbolized the origins of life and the magical power of women.
I think one of the reasons why people fear the word witch so much is that it brings up ideas about women's power. And for 5,000 years or longer, we have been propagandized, really, to fear women's power, to fear female power, to see it as something negative, something to be afraid of, something destructive, something evil. And naturally, we have all those associations that come up with the word witch. That's why, for me, it's important to use that word, to bring it up, to say, look, let's bring out into the light all of this stuff. Let's look at it clearly and realize we don't have to fear it.
The word witchcraft has been used to dismiss many cultural traditions, not only in Europe, but around the world. This woman in Brazil is a member of the religion known as the Society of the Alejo. For generations, the women of the Alejo kept alive the traditions of their African ancestors. When the Europeans arrived in Africa and the Americas, women who practiced rituals like these were called heathens and persecuted as witches. We still call these women witch doctors and charlatans. They are the folk healers of Peru, and for centuries they've met in markets like this one. Many of the drugs that stock our pharmacies were first used by female healers. 400 years ago, women like this were burned at the stake for the crime of witchcraft.
Bálsamo divino, bálsamo de sanación.
Margarita Vespuedes is a curandera, a Mexican healing witch. Despite years of persecution, women like Margarita have continued to practice as healers. Modern medicine once dismissed techniques like these, but doctors are beginning to re-examine the healing power of the human spirit.
Sanos, salvos se han de encontrar y sanos y salvos han de quedar. Yo soy de la obra espiritual nombrada por el Eterno Padre para ayudar a todos mis seres hermanos, toda la humanidad, encarnados y desencarnados. Soy piedra fundamental, guía de guías, consejera. El que necesita el consejo, yo le digo cómo debe de caminar, cómo debe de vivir, cómo debe de protegerse con la palabra de Dios nuestro Señor, el niño Jesús.
Like Margarita, many European healers who were burned relied on Christian faith when performing their cures, but their healing arts were rooted in the traditions of their ancestors.
Del Hijo del Espíritu Santo.
The original word witch, it comes from an Anglo-Saxon root wick, which means to bend or shape consciousness, and thus to bend or shape events in your life. Essentially, it is the remnants in the West of the old shamanic traditions, the traditions of developing within yourself altered states of consciousness without using drugs, without using chemicals, but through meditation and through very, very simple methods like chanting, like singing together.
Starhawk is a modern witch. She's here with people from all over North America who celebrate the summer solstice. New pagans feel that they are returning to a pre-Christian tradition that honors both women and nature.